Good day, everyone. I am Cherry May Suerte Saldua of BS Ed Filipino 2A, all the way from the Duyan capital of Bukidnon, Damkagat.
And I am Giselle Sala, 19 years old, from Placer, Surigao del Norte, a first-year BSc Filipino chef.
So at this moment, we will tackle and analyze one of Francisco Goya's historical painting Lost 1814, which is the 3rd of May 1808. Now, the 3rd of May execution was an indiscriminate killing of civilians by French soldiers in reprisal for a guerrilla attack the previous day. Goya's painting on the massacre, which shows terrified civilians facing a firing squad, was intended to arouse hatred and anger on the part of the Spanish viewers. The diagonal line of soldiers pressing in it is quite dramatic. They aim the guns as a strong horizontal at the man in white. The leg of the first soldier is diagonal towards the pile of bodies, countered by a sword hanging down. The strong V of the man in white's hands up is mirrored by the same pose in the dead man directly at his feet. The strong diagonal of the rolling heel behind him helps balance the frame from the left. A narrow color palette with lots of earthy colors in it makes it feel realistic, but also doesn't distract from the tonal lights and darks. The red of the blood and the green trousers of the monk and the blue sleeves next to the blood on the dead man in front brings them out slightly despite being dark figures more than the rest of the crowd, because the man in white and the soldiers sort of steal the show. Most of the clothes and background is dull, but the blood is bright red, fresh and dramatic. The shapes of the French soldiers are highly contoured. They turn away from the viewer. We do not know what they look like. The viewer cannot relate to them. Now, the mood of the painting is very bleak and somber. The colors which the artist has chosen are earth tones, and there is a strong overall contrast of dark and light. This dramatic lighting technique can be seen in the central figure, which is the young Spanish man with his arms outstretched. The implied lines of the gun lead the viewer's eye to the focal point. His outstretched arms form a V-line. This line is reiterated in the collar and pants of the man. The 3rd of May 1808 commemorates the events surrounding the Madrid uprising against the French occupying forces the previous day. The picture is in fact the right-hand half of a diptych. It undertook a realist perspective that was mostly unbeknownst to the viewer of that time. The viewer could easily tell that the story in this painting will not end well. Its message is largely hopeless, which was especially represented by the central figure of the man in white. The artist has created looser brush strokes and a duller surface. This in contrast to the shiner surface of the soldier, especially the viewer is outside looking in. The light and dark contrast of the line in the sand separates the two groups spatially. There is also a feeling of entrapment created by the line of the mountain that holds the Spanish countrymen into the space. Nothing is going to stop them from murdering this man. The deep recession into space seems to imply that this type of brutality will never end.
Are there characters? What do they look like? Yes, there are many characters in the painting. They look like an innocent man wearing white is about to shot by the gunman or the soldiers. There are also a people who is covering their two eyes and a dead body on the other sides. What is the setting or situation? The situation in the painting is a chaos. because it have an execution and also an arrest of the army to the innocent man and to those people. What coloring technique are being utilized? The coloring technique being utilized in the painting is from light to darkness. What is happening in this painting? The 3rd of May execution was an indiscriminate killing of civilians from French soldiers in reprisal for a guerrilla attack the previous days. Goya's painting of massacre, which shows terrified civilians facing a firing squad, was intended to arouse anger and hatred on the part of Spanish viewers. What manner of representation thus the artist uses this? The manner of representation thus the artist used in the painting is realism. What emotions are produced in the painting? The emotion that produced is tragedy. Their blood literally ran through the streets of Madrid. Even though Goya had shown French sympathies in the past, the slaughter of his countrymen and the horrors of war made a profound impression on the artist. He commemorated both this of his heroism uprising in painting. What is most likely the message of this painting? The painting message has been lauded for its brilliant transformation of Christian iconography and its poignant portrayal of man's inhumanity to man. The central figure of the painting, who is clearly a poor laborer, takes the place of the crucified Christ. He is sacrificing himself for the good of his nation. What historical or religious or social issues are being represented in this artwork? Goya sought to commemorate Spanish resistance to Napoleon's armies during the occupation 1808 in the Peninsular War. The 3rd of May 1808 commemorates the events surrounding the Madrid uprising against the French occupying forces of the previous day. Who is the author, and how does his background influence this artwork? The author of this painting is Francesco Goya. Francesco Goya background influenced a lot in terms in this painting because he was a Spanish romantic painter and paintmaker, also a commentator and a chronicler of the 18th and 19th